Well, hello, and welcome once again to 25 o'clock. I'm your host, Dan Drago. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the show. Happy holidays to you all. I gave a big old shout out to Hanukkah last show, and now I will give a large shout out to Christmas in this episode. Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. It is Monday. It is the 21st? Sure. Yeah. 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Yeah, that makes sense. Christmas is this week. I know a lot of you are excited. I know that a lot of you have small children who are probably also very excited. And perhaps you let some of the children listen to this podcast. I thank you for that. We do use some language every once in a while. So, I don't know, consider it a teachable moment. Mommy, Daddy, what's that word that the man just said? And be like, well, that's a word that we don't use in polite company, except when you have your own podcast, you can say whatever you want. That's the lesson to be learned right there. Anyway, wow, that did not go where I expected it to go. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that stuff. Welcome to the show. Go to 25o'clockpod.com for all the old episodes and all kinds of stuff, all relating to 25 o'clock. Join the mailing list, check out the Facebook, the Twitter, all those things. Yeah, on the show this week, Jeremy Hebbel from Gable Music Ventures, which is a music promotion and event company down in Wilmington, Delaware. And I guess on paper that doesn't sound terribly interesting, but nothing could be further than the truth. I've known Jeremy for a few years. He used to book shows that my band was part of back in the day when we would play down in Wilmington. He's a tremendously talented drummer, and he is a real scene maker and a scene supporter. Him and Gail Dillman with Gable Music Ventures down in Wilmington. They're really making that city a spot on the map as a musical city. I think most things that have come the way of Wilmington from a music standpoint over the last few years have been due to them. So, of course, it was an awesome treat to get Jeremy in the studio. What else I want to talk about? We talked about holiday stuff. I did that at the beginning. For those of you who don't know, and why would you? You're not in the room with me. I somewhat map out these opening rambling monologues, and I very often do not pay any attention to it. I sit and write it all out, maybe just 30 seconds, 60 seconds before I hit record, and then I promptly do whatever the hell I feel like it. So, yeah, there's that. Oh gosh, it's been a great year for the show. 2015 has been a good year for 25 o'clock. I'm gonna wax nostalgic about the year a little bit because this is probably the last time that I'll talk to you guys in the year 2015. It's been a great year for this show. When I think back, we started in January. Well, we started last year in 2014, but we started 2015 on episode 7, and here we are. This is episode 32, so that's great. That means that I did what I wanted to do the entire year, which was put out a show every 2 weeks and try not to miss that schedule that I set for myself. I've talked to other people about this, and I've always said that it's incredibly important to me to have sort of a consistent running schedule. I don't know. It keeps it more legitimate in my mind, just to constantly be hitting your schedule goal every 2 weeks. Otherwise, you're just a guy who does a podcast and then doesn't do anything for a month, and does a podcast and then does one in a week and then doesn't do anything for 6 months. And that just wasn't what I wanted to do here. I wanted to actually try and make something consistent. And I think that we did that this year, and we had a lot of awesome guests this year. Like I said before, go to 25o'clockpod.com if you're new to the show or not familiar with some of the old guests that we've had on the show. There's 31 previous episodes to this one. So get cracking. Get listening. You got some work to do. Anyway, that's enough out of me. Don't you think? I think so. Everyone have a happy holiday. Everyone have a Merry Christmas. I hope everyone had a happy Hanukkah, and I hope everyone has a great new year, a safe new year. Go easy out there. It's not about partying like it's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. The next morning you're going to wake up. It's going to be January 1st of 2016. You're still going to be alive, and you're still going to feel everything you've done to yourself. So try and go into the new year not in a blinding pain, remorse, and regret. Try that out. It's going to be fun. I promise. Listen to me. What kind of advice is this? Like, 25-year-old Dan is just shaking his head at 35-year-old Dan right now. 25-year-old Dan thinks 35-year-old Dan is lame. But screw 25-year-old Dan. He's dead. 35-year-old Dan is alive. So anyway, everyone have a safe and happy holiday season, and I will catch you all. I'll catch you all at the end of this. At the end of the show, I will talk at the end. Everyone have an excellent holiday season. Let's talk to Jeremy Hebbel of Gable Music Ventures. GableMusicVentures.com. Go there to learn more about the stuff that Jeremy does and stuff that Gale does with the group. Let's talk to Jeremy here on 25 o'clock. Oh yeah. This is a little office.
I dig it.
I do because I'm in school right now. I do my homework down here too.
Oh, it's great. Great space, man. Great space. Wow.
Yeah. Cool.
Absolutely.
You're playing with Jacopo tonight?
I am playing with Jacopo tonight.
I don't know if he and I have ever met.
You need to make that happen.
I've played with a lot of people that he's played with. He's got what was his band called again?
The Late Saints.
I have a record of theirs somewhere because I did work with Sheila on and off.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Another Delawarean.
As do we. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. She's still she's fun. Every few months she would call me about something about a record, and we would talk very intensely on the phone, like on and off for the course of a couple days, and then we would never say anything about it ever again.
Nice.
And I love
you're inspirational, I guess. She just calls you for.
I was just talking to her, like she's like, "This is weird," and and I'm like, "It's cool. Everything's cool. You can't mess it up. Just be cool, and everything's gonna be fine."
You deserve production rights for that album.
Should be a producer on if she ever puts it out. We were gonna go up to New York and record with my brother.
I don't know why she wouldn't record with Jacopo because he does.
Well, she did. She did a track with him too.
Right, yeah.
And then there was mixing questions, and I was just like, it was basically me on the phone, just being like, "It's cool. Everything's cool. Every decision you make is cool. Like whatever you choose to do with it.
It's your art.
It's your thing, man.
Yeah. What's anybody can say about it?
Nobody knows what it's supposed to sound like except you.
Isn't that the wonderful thing about art?
It is great. It is great. And you play. So I met you first. You were a drummer.
I am. My whole family are drummers.
Oh, it's a whole family of drummers.
Yeah, and then I was kind of the rebellious one early on, and decided I was going to teach myself to play guitar.
Oh, check you out.
I can play guitar. I can play bass, but I definitely am a naturally born drummer.
Was that like your first thing when you were a kid?
Guitar was before anything. Yeah, I mean, I was that we had family stomp sessions. Really? With everybody, with spoons and stuff. That's like
sitting at the dinner table and everyone starts playing the flatware.
Yep, exactly. And my mom has rhythm, but never, she basically kind of like whooped every once in a while. Like she'd get into it, and be like whoop, literally. Yeah, that's how she does her thing, just to be a part of it. But all the males in the family,
they all drum. Your father did your father drum professionally or semi-professionally or anything like that?
Always fun. He's been in bands as long as I can remember. I grew up, with him playing in the basement, basically. And so yeah, he's been in tons of projects throughout my entire life.
What kind of stuff did he play?
Rock, a lot of rock. But he was also, I know he was in a polka band at one point.
Yeah.
And so a little bit of everything. Yeah. Micah, my younger brother, is definitely the one that pursued it professionally.
Who does he play with again?
He is the drummer for the Late Saints.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I'm subbing for him this evening.
Gotcha. So you get a Hebbel one way or the other.
But he actually went to Berklee School of Music. He
cool.
really pursued it in a big way. And the rest of us, it's always just been a fun way to express ourselves, basically. Yeah. Actually, drumming, we really can't help ourselves. It's more of just I have to bang on things.
Where are you from originally? You from Delaware?
I was born in Wilmington.
Oh, really?
I was indeed.
Right
And
under.
I was born at in a birth center. Actually, I was not born in the hospital. I was born in a birth center. And
I was also born in a birth center,
it's
like
the
back
way to
when
go.
that was a thing.
The way to go. It really is. I'm telling you, my whole life has been better off.
Is your
because of
birth
it.
center still there? Because mine's not.
It has moved locations, but it is still in existence. And I was one of the first children delivered. I was like within the first 100 babies or something.
Gotcha.
And now they've thousands and thousands and thousands. Obviously, at this
They got
point,
better
so.
at it, right?
I don't know. They were pretty damn good. They tried to start.
My face is all there, right?
Well, there's a music supporter in Wilmington, Ron Ozer, who runs the Arden Guild Hall. I don't know if you're familiar with the Guild Hall, but his wife Dorinda actually heads up the birth center now that I was born at.
So did you ever venture much outside your general Delaware area?
I did. I lived like right outside Baltimore, the Reisterstown Owings Mills area for a year. I moved with my ex-fiance and went down there to pursue music and start a band with a friend, actually.
In Baltimore?
In Baltimore, yeah. And then ended up coming back for a while. And then right before starting Gable, I had actually decided to move to San Diego. And so I came back from San Diego to Wilmington to actually start Gable. That was a reason for leaving San Diego.
Oh, were you already in San Diego at the time? Or?
I had decided, so really pretty much, I guess, a little less than a year after meeting Gail at Accent Music, I had already, a friend of mine who, we kind of met while I was in a band called PD Low Notes and the Truck Stop Regulars. And our friend, we were really having a lot of fun and had a lot of momentum and a great little fan base that was starting. And he kind of up out of nowhere and was like, I need to go on a spiritual journey and I'm moving out to the West Coast. And we were all like, should the whole band go? I mean, we should do this because, at that point, really there wasn't a lot happening in Wilmington at all. So I had made that decision. And then, I kind of threw a weird just fate, essentially.
Well, the story of how you and Gail met is pretty cool.
It is. It's really cool. And it really is fate. I mean, there's no way I could have possibly, made this happen. It just kind of fell up my lap.
But no, it's just the way I've seen it told. You can definitely jump in and make it more real. Mm-hmm. So you were working at Accent, which is in Wilmington.
It is in Wilmington. Yeah. Yeah. It's a small, 2-location.
Yeah. And she came in to repair a guitar. Or no, she sent a guitar back to Martin.
Her daughter.
Is the beautiful thing about Martin is that
oh my God, they're amazing.
They'll take anything. That guy over there.
I have a funny story about Martin. Though. I have another side story. About
That's a Martin from the early from '62.
It's beautiful.
Or '63.
That's a beautiful.
Is my father-in-law's, and at some point
probably sounds unfreaking believable.
At some point, it's going back, like
that herringbone. That's beautiful.
There's no truss rod in that, by the way. It's
I know.
back before. It's all one solid piece of wood.
And that's how you know it is made incredibly well. The fact that it still plays.
Oh, it sounds great. But at some point, I just have to get my act together and drive up to Bethlehem and drop it off. And I'm sure if I dropped it off, they would be excited to see it, and then maybe they would let me see stuff.
So, the background from me and Martin and Accent Music is really funny because I bought when I was a kid growing up. I mean, I worked an entire summer as a camp counselor. Literally, I made no money. I made $900 for the whole summer, and I spent all that money on a D15 Dreadnought, all solid mahogany Martin. I mean, I went and I did a ton of research, and my dad's friend came down from Pittsburgh to help me choose the guitar. I mean, it was a big thing.
Oh yeah.
And 5 days later, I was playing it and recording with it, and the strap had popped off.
Yeah.
And it swung down a little bit and hit the side of a padded couch, and the whole inside just popped in.
Oh my God.
And I found out that it had been not properly humidified. Accent wouldn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Martin wouldn't do anything for me.
Oh my gosh.
So I actually, for a long period of my life, was like, F that company. I was not a big fan of mine. Loved the way their guitars sound. And then interestingly enough, it kind of all came full circle again around when Gail came in and was like, so I got this Martin that's falling apart that I bought for my daughter. And really that first situation isn't what made me want to help Gail. That's just how I am. But I had an extra guitar, and I loved that she was so upset that her guitar was that this guitar was going to need to be gone because she wanted her daughter to continue being able to play.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Well, okay, it's great that you're going to send it back, and that Martin will replace it.
Do you have a loaner or something?
But give me something. I need something for my daughter to keep on playing." And she was really Like, it was obvious to me she wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, this was happening. And so I just was like, this is doesn't need to be an issue. I have an extra guitar.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
just
to
take this guitar.
Just take it. I was like, it's not doing anything.
That's great.
And so, yeah, that was the best thing I could have ever possibly done, basically, because that really, Gail, I think she I don't know. She's definitely the kind of person that if you reach out and you do something for you, show her an act of kindness, she's going to do anything she can to repay that act of kindness. And so for a while, she got behind the band that I was in by giving us, like a gig at her home. She asked if I would work with her daughter to do songwriting, which I did, and then kind of started this friendship, which then led to her asking me essentially how we could find a performance opportunity for her daughter. Who
that's
was
great.
Like 15 at the time, and was really talented. But I mean, I couldn't put her at Logan House. We couldn't really book her at any of the places that were existing.
Well, everything's bars.
Everything's bars in Wilmington.
Hard
it was
to
like either you're playing a private party in a basement, or you're playing for your friends at home.
You played at church or something
exactly.
like that. Yeah,
and she didn't want to do that, and she was able to play in her school. Like her school, she went to Archmere, and her school did this really cool coffee house series thing, and they were able to play. But so this is what ended up happening: is she asked me to find something. I couldn't really find something. Same time, my younger brother, who was just out of Berkeley and was playing with a band that was down in Georgia, they were like, "We're coming home for the holidays. Can you help us find a show?" Yeah. So I had these two entities that were like, "We want to play," and I at that time really wasn't that connected into this scene or the scene, quote unquote, in Wilmington. And so I basically just, out of a lack of options, said, Gail, why don't we rent a space somewhere and just do a show, and just put it together. We'll find another band and put it together. She loved that idea. And I had no idea that she had experience putting events together just in the not-for-profit world. And so thank God for that, because I didn't and was really not exactly a motivated individual at that time in my life, to put it lightly. And so thanks to Gail, she found a great venue, and she got press, and she, really took it to levels that I never would have been able to do on my own. I think musically was my contribution. It was a great lineup start to finish, and everything went really well and ran on time, which are things I've always been good at. But she, that because of that event, then she, I literally was already moving. Like, I had already made my plans. I had my date of leaving, which was less than a month or two after that. And I left Wilmington in the middle of a blizzard in early January, and got out to San Diego, where it was 82 degrees and beautiful, and was like, I'm never coming back. and Gail had a lot of people within the community of Wilmington that kept contacting her and saying, you need to keep on doing what you did.
Show,
Like, that was really cool, because she got 100 people to come out to that first
event. Which for a first showing
is pretty
really
awesome.
Impressive.
Yeah,
bands work for years to get 100 people to show up.
And that combination of an emerging act and a local act and a regional act or a touring act is something we've really not strayed very far from.
No,
we've
not at all.
Always loved that combination. Everybody seems to get something really great out of it. And so she called me one day and was like, so I'm going to start a business. And it was definitely largely inspired by what we did. And so, you have first rights at partnership, but you can't do it from San Diego. You got to come back. And, I thought about it. I really did think about it for a few days, and we talked about it. And I told her that if she could give me until mid-March, I would come back, because there's no way I was coming back to Wilmington before that date.
So you were in San Diego for a year?
No, only 3 months.
You got there in January.
I literally got out there, and she asked me
you're like, well, let me wait out the winter.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not. There's no way I'm coming back there anytime before that.
Did you anything? Was anything even happening musically for you in San Diego, or you weren't even there long enough to figure it out?
It's funny. I mean, yes and no. I could tell that, my purpose of going out there to do something musically with the person that had left was not going to happen, because I mean, he very much had his own thing he was doing. He was really involved with a girl. He was like, all the times that I was saying, let's go busk somewhere and go finger, it was kind of just like, I kind of want to go surfing instead. It was like he had his own prerogatives. Yeah. So could I have gotten involved in something? Sure. But, I know me, and at that time in my life, I probably would have ended up, getting another retail job at a music store and just haven't relocated. Yeah. I also know that I'm really a homebody. and I love being close to my parents. So I don't think I would have stayed in San Diego regardless.
It's always a culture shock too.
But,
like West Coast versus East Coast and all that.
God.
Yeah.
I was crazy to me. I was really crazy. I was like, these people, I don't understand.
And you go out there and
I don't get it.
You go out there and you look like a psycho lunatic, like on the West Coast, by just like telling someone, "Excuse me," and people's like, "Why did he shout?" And I'm like, "That's not shout. You think that's shouting?"
My whole thing was like, I get out there and I'm like, oh my God, I got my shirts, my flip flops, and my T-shirt on. I can't wait. And they're dressed in winter items just because
it's
like
60.
It was chilly for them. That's one thing, but more that it was like, we don't really have cold weather, so it's like fashion almost. So like, I'm gonna wear my scarf even if I'm in shorts and something else. Like, it was just a scarf. That was really interesting to me. I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Oh, God. So you came back. That was like what? It was like 2011.
Yeah, this was 2011.
Yeah. And then you guys kind of did it for a little bit.
We spent a few months on our first event.
Yeah. What was the first event?
The first event was May 21st, and we rented out the Jewish Community Center and did a really cool show with Rory Sullivan and
Rory
and Joe Keys, the Late Bloomer, and the Late Bloomer Band, E.B. Hawkins. I mean, again, it was just a really cool lineup, but that, I think, event really showed that we didn't really know what we were doing yet at that point. We lost a lot of money on it. I think the ticket price was a little too much. We didn't really know how to get bands excited yet about playing. I think they kind of just thought it was a gig. They didn't realize it was going to be a really cool thing. And so it was fun. Everybody that came loved it. We bought some like 300 T-shirts and sold 30. Like the mistakes that we made in that show are will stay with us forever. But I don't think anybody learns better than anything other than making a mistake. You make that mistake and you're like, check. Not going to do that again. I got that now.
Yep.
And so we kind of quickly scaled back from this idea of like, hey, we're going to do these big events, and said, why don't we try like a small series somewhere? And that's when we got hooked up with Film Brothers and started doing those. And again, same thing. We didn't know how to get people excited. We didn't know how to really tell people that it was a cool space and what was going on. And so we would have...
What is Film Brothers?
Film Brothers was basically a rented room. It was just a room that was used for... parties, things like that, but there wasn't anything there to make it a venue. I mean, there was chairs, literally. So
chairs and walls.
We had to bring in a PA. We had to do every aspect of it. We were bartending. We were, and when you bartend in Wilmington, you go and you sit through a god awful 4-hour class to get your permit, and then the liquor license in Wilmington means you can't actually profit off of those. You have to find a not for profit that's going to get all the profits. But we didn't have a choice because no one's going to come out to this place if
there weren't drinks.
So, it was really tough going those times. And I mean, we paid our dues for a couple of years, literally lugging, chairs around and lugging PA systems in. And we would put 11, 12 hours of work just that day into an event. And then we would spend another 2 hours when we get home being like, okay, how much did we lose?
Yeah.
And, and so it took a lot of just, no, this is it's a bigger thing that's going to come around eventually. And it took a lot of like, we're in this for the long run kind of planning, rather than like, oh, let's make a bunch of money doing it.
Well, you sound like you approached the promotion of bands and like the promotion of events in the same way that successful bands at the start approach being in a band, where you just accept like, okay, off the cuff, the first 2 years we're going to tank.
Absolutely. I think a lot of businesses in general do that. And I think that a lot of businesses, they lose money in the first 2 years, but still have a lot more signs that things are going to go well necessarily than Gale and I did. And we, aside from, the musicians in the community could not have been better. They like totally embraced us.
Yeah.
And
you treated them decent.
We did. That was really, I think, what put us
and
aside.
that's a huge thing right there. And you'd be amazed how many bands will come back, even if the money's not good or even entirely absent, if you just get treated well.
It always floored me at the end of the night. We'd have a night where, we'd have 5 people show up on a $6 ticket.
Yeah.
And it was very obvious, like we lost money purely on the $85 that we had to spend just to get the room for the night, not to mention PA and paying the sound guy and buying alcohol that nobody purchased and all that stuff. And, it was hard to do, but at the end of the night, we would still say, hey, you traveled to get here. Here's some gas money.
Yeah.
Like there's no money to be made, but here's some gas money because it's not okay not to give you something for coming. And so I think, we definitely made a point from the beginning of saying, look, we're going to treat you right even when things aren't good for us. We're going to treat you right. And so I think, we have a lot of loyalty from a lot of bands.
And a lot of people get into like the music promotion biz, like you get a lot of either former artists, failed artists, or what have you, who get into the other side of it because they spent so long getting ripped.
It's almost like they fall into
it. Well, they spent so long getting ripped off by the promoters that they're just like, well, clearly that's where the money is. That guy's been holding my money the whole time. And then you get on the other side and be like, I don't have any money. Like, there's no money here either.
Right.
Like, and if you get into it, like getting into a band or anything, like if you get into it strictly for the money, like you're going to be highly disappointed pretty quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unless you're in like a wedding band or something like that.
I mean, Gable, we've been very, very proud to have been running in the black for a few years now, but
but I know it didn't start that way. It took a while to get there.
It definitely did. And I don't even really have a salary. You know what I mean? Like I do this, but my expenses are paid, and I'm happy, and we're doing well, and we're growing fast. Yeah. But more importantly for me, I'm excited when I go to bed every night, and I can't wait to wake up. Yeah. This is about me.
Well, you guys are
being really happy.
You're engaging with the music community too. Like even though I know you don't play as regularly as you used to, but like there's still a part of you that still wants to be.
Totally.
Still wants to be part of everything.
I'm the musician. You know what I mean? That's why Gail asked me to do this business. So she knew she wanted to partner with a musician.
Yeah. So. And it helps to have a musician on the team because that musician can be like, well, look, here's how we got to treat people. Like, here's how we got to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was something that, Gail definitely understood from the beginning, though. She understood that it was like, that $30, $40 in gas money was going a really, really long way. And so, I give her so much credit for kind of stepping back and trusting, what was definitely my inclination, but she fully backed it. Yeah. And really she was the financial, push behind this. The business would not exist if Gail had not put, her own resources on the line to do it. And so, this whole thing comes back to her, trusting in doing the right thing, believing that the music community was going to, have our backs over time, and believing that there could be a scene where there isn't one. And so, I mean, her vision and foresight in this was just absolutely amazing to me. It was something that I, at the time, didn't believe in, which is one of the reasons I had just left to go to San Diego.
Well, I can definitely get that. I mean, Wilmington, just in the last couple of years, are we really starting to see, and this is just from my perspective all the way up here in Philadelphia, at least for me, I always look upon Wilmington kindly as like a younger sibling or something like that. And especially as an arts city, that you guys are trying so hard to come into your own and
absolutely
and not just be like another like small city 30 minutes outside of a much larger city.
We definitely need to find our own image.
I think you guys are getting there. I think there are more bands and venues in the last few years, and I haven't been terribly active playing in the last couple of years. But even when I was, like, I watch from year to year, they're being like, oh, well, now there's another place to play in Wilmington, or outside, or Newark, or something like that.
We're so excited. I mean, it seems like that's one of the things I think a good indication of a business that is doing the right thing is it's not like we're spending a ton of money in advertising to find clients. Every client that we have has basically
they've come to us,
or musicians have sent them to us. And so we're just having this natural growth and just trying to provide the same level of quality and consistency at all times, essentially.
Did you find did you ever find you had sometimes like a conflict of expectations with certain businesses because I know a lot of businesses who kind of get into the live music racket are just like, this will make tons of money on a Monday night, and you're just like,
before we knew how to manage expectations, we had some blow-ups, and I don't want to name obviously any businesses, but
no,
but we definitely, we remember one specifically that the person came to us, and it was very obvious that their expectation was, oh, well, the music's going to fill our room. Yeah. And, now we know that's a huge red flag. like. And it doesn't mean you walk away from something. It just means that they need to
try to re-educate a little bit right there.
You know, here's the thing is if people aren't coming into your business, you should probably figure out why that's happening.
Yeah, and music isn't going to save you.
Right.
Music's just going to augment what's already there.
It can totally help, you know, but it needs to be reasonable. Unless you're like, okay, here's $5,000 for an act, that's not going to happen because the acts that we're going to be able to get with the $300 that you're telling us to spend are going to be local acts. But you'd be surprised. They're going to do anything they can to get people in. But they're not going to fill your 200 capacity room. You know what I mean? And so
you'd be surprised what bands will do for $150 a piece. Like for two bands at $150 a piece. Like
I've been surprised. I've been so shocked throughout this entire this entire business at the reaction that we get from some people when like I said, it's like, hey, we didn't really make a lot, so here's what we have to give, and people will look at me and be like, I'm getting paid. And it's just a sad state of affairs in my opinion. It really is. Like there should never be that question in
especially
my opinion, coming from
in smaller markets
in any business. I'm sorry, I don't care if you're a painter or a photographer, whatever. If you're providing services that obviously people need and value, why would you not expect to get compensated for something? You know what I mean? Like I have had it on the other side where, you know, we're going to leaps and bounds and we're walking away with like maybe $25 for the night so that we can pay the artists. And you know, we've had an artist that's been like, really? You know what I mean? So that has happened occasionally, but most of the time it's really more of the, wow, I'm in shock that like you brought me into town and you've treated me well, you fed me and you've given me drinks and you've given me a great atmosphere to play in and you're paying me. And that's how it should be, honestly.
No, you guys have always been, I would point you guys out even to other Philadelphia acts and other Philadelphia promoters and stuff like that. And I said, like, look, if you want to take a page for someone's book, I said, why don't you go look at what they're doing down there in Wilmington? And this was even 3 or 4 years ago when you guys were really starting to come into your own and really starting to, like, you guys were doing consistent shows. You had a lot of different kinds of venues. You were bringing in all kinds of acts. I always get floored the number of Delaware area acts. Like,
there's more and more springing up all the time.
It's really
exciting to see. I mean,
it was always wild to play these shows down there with you guys and like meet like, and every time it was like different bands. I remember the first time I did Rock Circus with you guys. I'm like, I don't know who any of these people, like we knew like one other band on the bill.
We strive for that.
Yeah. Like personally, like we were like friends with like one other band on the bill.
That's awesome.
And I think it was Glim Dropper.
Nice.
Who I miss
those
so
guys
much.
I know.
Yeah.
Although the duo is phenomenal.
Well, and that's still Glim Dropper.
I miss that line.
I miss Ben.
I know. I miss Ben.
Guy's such a great guitar player.
Ben, if you're listening to that.
Ben, if you listen to my podcast out there in Texas, wherever you are, I'm sure it's great. And
come home.
Please. Come home like Jeremy did from San Diego. If Jeremy can come back from San Diego in winter, you can come back from Austin.
Even just for a visit.
Yeah. But that was something that I was always really wowed by the way you guys did stuff, and I had no idea really the sort of the money aspect of it. That's not something that we tend to talk about. Sure. But just seeing the number of acts that you brought through, the number of events you had going around, the diversity of acts too. It wasn't just like all hard rock bands or all indie rock bands or something like that.
We've been really fortunate to have had, like you said, the variety in venues where, you know, we can work with, you know, a rock band and then a songwriter showcase and then an R&B act. And that's what I prefer. You know, one of the things that we wish we could do more of is hip hop and rap in Wilmington.
Yeah.
That's something that we don't have a great venue for right now.
Is there a scene for that down there?
Very underground, like very much a DIY, like basement scene. And there are a couple groups that are doing pretty well moving in. And interestingly enough, they're moving it into like the Film Brothers and Chris White Gallery and a lot of the venues. In fact, I just reached out to one of the groups just a few days ago. And of course, I'm not going to be able to think of it off the top of my head. But I was very, very impressed, and so I reached out just to hey, drop in a note like, just keep doing what you're doing because this is awesome, and let's get together sometime so I can tell you the stories of when I was doing what you're doing, because it takes a tremendous amount of work. It's really, really hard to make money doing it, and it's really just, you got to be passionate to do that and get past that period essentially. And you know, now we're very fortunate to kind of be like that conduit to the local music scene with you know, like the Grand Opera House and World Cafe Live at the Queen. You know, we'll get contacted occasionally from the Grand Opera House like, hey, you know, we're looking for a recommendation for an opener. Like we were able to suggest John Fay as an opener for Pat Benatar. You know, we just have these really cool things that we're able to do, and like very exciting, even if we're not a monetary piece of that equation. That's awesome. I mean, that's amazing when that kind of thing
for them to even reach out to you at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And World Cafe Live at the Queen has really it's interesting. Like the local shows that happen there at the Queen frequently do better than the national acts that are coming through, and it's a really interesting thing. And they really value our relationship. And
how did
really
you get how did you get hooked up with those guys in the first place?
So a guy named Jared Obsfeld, who interestingly enough moved out to San Francisco, right? A few years back.
Yeah.
He had started a band, Universal Funk Order. I don't know if you know. They still play, and they had a date at World Cafe Live at the Queen, and Jared had heard about us through. I think it was, I'm drawing a blank right off the top of my head right now, but he had heard about us and contacted us, and I had a really great long conversation with him. And even though he had absolutely no need of a promoter, he took that initiative to like basically tell World Cafe Live, oh, hey, these guys are going to promote our show, which up until that point we really hadn't been able to get even an email back answered at that point. And so we came on board, and we promoted the ever living crap out of that show as much as we could, with the budget that we had, and really just kind of slowly worked that relationship. And for a while, I mean, it was even after that period, which probably was late 2011, it wasn't until we had a very successful first rock circus, which was DIY. We basically got empty warehouse space down on the riverfront.
Yeah, that was 2011. I remember we had heard about that, the band that I was in.
And we had 300 people that came out that first year.
And it had come and gone. And like right after it had gone, I talked to someone who had either been in it or had played in it. They told us about it. I remember turning to the rest of the guys. I'm like, that next year, we're doing that next year. I don't know who we need to know to do that, but we need to make that happen.
That was a fun night because we actually built 2 stages in the space. We put 2 stages up, and we did a ton of pipe and drape and brought in a little bar, and it was like a really cool space. And we had people walking up to us all night like, we're so happy you opened this place up. But we're like, well,
this is not
enjoy it because it is closed in 6 hours.
In 6 hours, it all comes down.
And I love that. And I wish we could continue doing that, but I mean, we got so lucky to find that. That
it's a lot of work to do a pop-up venue.
Yeah, it was also not a financially successful show, unfortunately. But again, that was
I think that was your calling card, though, at least in the region, for them to like look up and be like, oh my God, they're actually doing it. Because that's such a...
Yep.
You'd always hear about...
People were like, oh, these guys are serious.
Yeah.
They can really...
You'd always hear about like pop-up event space stuff in like New York and LA and stuff like that. And so when I heard that like, oh, someone's doing a pop-up venue in Wilmington, I'm just like, really?
Yeah. And that's what we were doing basically at Film Brothers on a small scale already.
And Chris White too, to a point, down in the basement.
Chris White too, yeah. We basically moved from, we thought that was kind of an even cooler, funkier kind of space. And so we moved it from Film Brothers down to Chris White, permanently. And the Songwriter Showcase, the 6, was really the one that, was our first ongoing series, which still goes to this date. We've done 4 years of monthly Songwriter Showcases now, and it's awesome now that it's at the Queen. And we keep on tweaking it, and we keep on doing it kind of different. Just like same with Rock Circus, we kind of do it different every year, even though it kind of lives at the Queen. So.
Well, no, it's great that it lives at the Queen because you've got all the...
Awesome. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud this year. We actually pulled off 10 bands on that downstairs main stage.
Oh, wow.
5-minute changeovers.
Wow.
Yeah, 25 minutes, that's 5-minute change. The whole thing ran from 7 to midnight. I was very, very, very impressed. And very pleased with all the artists that played on that stage. It was like, you guys hustled. I appreciate that.
No, I like that a lot. I like that you have an appreciation for a tightly run ship when it comes to a show, because I have played so many crappy shows where everything is like, where's the sound guy, where's the door guy, who has the money, where is the thing.
I don't naturally have that. It's interestingly enough, that was never like, when my I know when a lot of feedback started coming back in, I remember how blown away my dad was when he heard that, our shows were that well organized and that I was the one organizing it. And I think I just really quickly understood the level of stress that goes into a poorly run show.
Oh, yeah.
And again, those are in some of those first mistakes that you make. And that first time that, a show ran behind schedule and the act that you've been waiting for all night is playing to 5 people that are left, you're just like, I'm never doing that again.
We screwed that up.
That is it. And so,
and also,
always have. We've always really tried.
And even running show, and then the band is chill, and when the band is chill and relaxed, and that's when you get a better show out of them too.
Fully agree. A happy musician is going to put on the best performance they possibly can. Yeah, absolutely. And that improves the audience experience. That improves the venue experience. Improves everybody's experience. And there's nothing worse than as an artist, realizing that you just got screwed right before going on stage.
Oh God, I can't tell
I
you.
know that feeling well. Trust me.
I can't tell you the number of times when they're just like, before you go on, they're like, oh, by the way, there's no money.
Right. Oh, by the way, here's your payment.
No, they'll even tell you, oh, by the way, there's no money.
There's no money, right.
Have a great show. And I'm just like, you couldn't have waited.
Yeah,
like,
seriously. Like, we're off in 45 minutes. You could have just told us.
Just told me in 45 minutes.
Exactly. Now we would have at least been able to play well to the people there. So.
That's usually the point where I would get combated. I would take it out on the audience.
Yeah. Oh, you people suck.
Yeah. I would like turn to the members of the band and be like, just turn up. Just like, if we aren't getting paid, like, let's see how many.
Be the loudest rehearsal ever.
Let's see how many people are still standing when this is done, which is a terrible way to go about doing anything. But I would just be pissed. I'd be like,
it's so true, and it's that
it was my up years to the venue is what it was.
There are very few venues out there or people outside of musicians that even care or consider that element, and I think it's tremendously important.
You got to run it well. I always like to run it like theater. I was like, everyone's here, you're on, you're there, you hit your marks. Obviously, sometimes things aren't going to go according to plan. Someone's van gets stuck somewhere. There's weather, there's car trouble, but like, if you have everything in order, then when the stuff starts getting messed up, at least like you're just like, well, all these other things are going right already, so we can move along.
One of our proudest moments was Rockabilly Rumble when we initiated that. When we first did that show, we found out we had Wanda Jackson, who's like the queen of Rockabilly, as our headliner.
I remember that show too. Yeah,
and we had J. Roddy Walston right scheduled before her, and so the whole idea there was a bunch of outdoor and upstairs stuff going on, and then that portion ended and everybody was going to go down and enjoy, the end of the show.
The big headliners, yeah.
And I think it was right around like 2 or 3 o'clock that, Chris LeBuzz, who does all the booking at World Cafe Live of the national acts, so she's the one that actually booked Wanda for the event, like came up and was like, so I just got a phone call that, Wanda missed her flight.
Oh God.
And I was like, okay. she's
getting another one, right?
So she's gonna be here, but she's gonna be here really late. So we need to like kind of think on the fly and figure out how to do this. And so I went around to a couple of the other acts like Low Cut Connie, Brian Russo, and we're like, hey, you like the idea of doing an unplanned set down on the main stage, right after when you guys are done? They were all like, yeah, absolutely, that sounds fun. And so we really on the fly made these decisions and filled in the space that was going to happen because we had to push back Wanda's show. Yeah, had new schedules printed there that we could hand to people as. So I mean, very few people knew what was going on at that point.
Oh, good.
And just kind of thought it was like, oh, okay. I thought it was going to end a little earlier, but that was pretty much the only comment.
Yeah.
And then I think it was again at like 6 o'clock or something. We got another phone call this was like after people have started coming down and doing this stuff. And we get the next phone call that's just like, Wanda's connecting flight has been delayed. She's not getting into Philly until like 12:30. It's not happening. And so we basically, decided what's the best way to, let this, crowd full of people
who came to see Wanda Jackson.
Yes. This was not happening and have as little damage done as possible. Okay. And fortunately J. Roddy Walston had just absolutely killed it. I mean, like put on one of the best sets I've ever seen. And, we spoke with his manager, I think, off stage, and was just like, what can we do to convince you to play another set? Yeah. And they were just like, heard the situation. We're like, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. And so instead of walking out and being like, hey, everybody, Wanda's not here, basically I walked out on stage and was like, oh man, that was amazing. And everybody's cheering, everybody's excited. And I was like, I know you guys couldn't possibly want to see anything more than another set by J. Roddy Walston. So here you go. He just walked away. I kind of was like, Wanda's not going to make it. There was flight problems. So we're going to have a whole other set from J. Roddy. And it actually got a lot more cheers than anything. And I think we had 3 or 4, like a handful of people that were like, I want a discount. I want a refund. Yeah. But all things considered, it was kind of just like, that's when you're on top of things as much as you can be, and you think outside of the box and you think on the fly. I mean, it's even disastrous situations can kind of turn into cool things. The worst part of that evening was having to tell the guys who Wanda had hired to back her up that they weren't going to get the chance to play, and they were just the coolest guys. They'd been there since like noon. Sound checked, were hanging out. And walked in and was just like, guys, that's not happening. Like, we just found out. And they were like, well, we'll still play. And we were like, well, we can't do that, unfortunately. Yeah. So, like, I'm sorry, but that was the worst part of the night, was having to tell these poor guys that just wanted to play that they weren't going to get the chance to play. So.
I just think in 20 years, like, no one's going to be able to afford to live on most of the East Coast. And that all the innovation is going to be happening in either smaller East Coast cities like Wilmington or Baltimore, or moving towards the Midwest or into the South, places like Chapel Hill and Asheville, which we've seen over the last 10 years have really kind of become these Southern hipster meccas. And I use that in a positive sense.
Absolutely.
Of world. It's not just college towns anymore. Now it's, the town next to the college town that's starting to become a thing. But I think it's curious that you told me that what you said was that you guys get a better response from those of us outside the community who maybe because there are so many opportunities up here in Philadelphia, there's so many places to play, and there's so many bands, and there's so many options. At least for us as a band, we were so happy to go down to Wilmington. We're like, that's great. There's only 3 places to play. So if anyone's going to come out, they're going to come to one of these 3 places. The odds of getting humans to show up is much better. So you go and play like 1984.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, like you go and play like 1984 or at upstairs of the World Cafe and be like, there are only 3 places open right now.
Sure, absolutely.
So anyone who's out,
and that has gotten better. And it's just, again, it's for me, it's just like there should be more people out. It's still almost like everybody's behaving like there are still only 3 people, or that they're not going to be able to get in, or like, oh, it's such a pain in the butt to walk 15 minutes down the road.
It is not a pain in the butt to walk 15 minutes.
And so we're trying to we're not stopping. That's the big thing when it comes to Gable, and everybody, it's everybody's like, hey, you guys are going to be able to, get through all this stuff as, things as your growing pains. It's just like, oh, we're not, so we'll figure out how to do it. Like, there's nothing stopping us from doing this.
You've already figured out how to do a lot of these things too. And
we see the end game, and we see that Wilmington's going to be pretty popping.
Oh yeah, I definitely
I still
agree.
think we need a few, 4 or 5 more years, but I think at that point it's going to be a where am I going town. It's not going to be an am I going.
Are we going to? Right. That's an interesting way to phrase that right there. So I mean, you had talked about Rock Circus before, and that's like a big thing. But Ladybug is a huge deal, especially with you guys down there in Delaware getting Firefly, which has become kind of a national festival destination right now.
Absolutely massive,
the first year they did it, I remember I kind of scratched my head. I was like, really? Anytime anything new comes to Delaware, it's never a knock on Delaware, but I'm always just like, really?
Yeah, but down there? It definitely was a surprise. It was a surprise to all of us here in Delaware as well. And it really does just show that whole thing. You draw a circle around Delaware, you're hitting...
You're hitting DC, you're hitting Baltimore, you're hitting Philly. People come down from New York.
Millions and millions of people. Yeah. And they're people that are excited to get out of there. So, I mean, you said it earlier. I mean, we've had artists from New York City who were like, I can't believe that, not only am I playing to people, but I'm getting paid. Normally, to play to people, I have to pay to get played.
Oh, yeah.
Play. And so, again, it's a very interesting... psychology that goes into that. But Ladybug has just taken off to that's its own animal. I mean, that's like, there's almost like no stopping it, whereas some of our other events have been kind of like, all right, let's keep pushing it along. Yeah. That one's just
what I loved
growth,
about Ladybug the first time you guys did it, and I know you guys had tapped me a couple of times too to come down and help, and I apologize right now on mic for not ever being able to like make that happen, because I definitely wanted it to happen, to just come down and lend support. Is that you had an opportunity, so you have something big like the Firefly Music Fest, which is tens of thousands of people show up to this. There's huge national acts. Is it still multi-day, or what's it?
It is.
It's multi-day now. Maybe it wasn't the first time.
It was shorter, but it was still multi-day the first time. Yeah.
And you guys had this great opportunity to take the Thursday before Firefly started and have a festival to
basically just to play off the excitement of what was going on.
And the thing I love the most about that, I mean, that alone was cool enough that like you guys had kind of been kicking it for long enough that like they'd be like, hey, in lieu of this huge national thing that you have nothing to do with, do you guys want to have our own thing to kind of just feed off that energy?
Exactly.
And then for you to take it and not just make a regular rock and roll street festival, you went and said like, what can we do? And I imagine so a lot of this was probably Gail's idea, where she said like, well, why don't we have a completely female centered music festival?
Actually, I think that was my idea. So Gail, cool. Gail's, first of all, it was her idea to play off the excitement and to do this event in the first place. I mean, she was spot on doing that. much to, and me, I was actually a naysayer from the beginning, going, well, I don't, there's all these people that are going to be excited about that. I don't know if they're going to be interested in this. And but she said, no, I want to do it, and I want to have kind of like a bug name. I want to have like to play off it in some way.
Firefly, yeah.
And I forget what the first thing that she said is, and I forget exactly who said Ladybug. But I know the moment that it was said, it was like, oh my God, this could
all
be
female
like
music
an
festival,
all female thing. This could be cool. We didn't know that. That's one of my favorite things. We put the whole lineup together. We had announced it, everything was going on, and then one of the performers, like a few weeks in, was like, oh my God, I love that it's the state bug of Delaware. And we were like,
yes,
yeah, yeah,
of course it is.
I had no idea there was such a thing. And of course,
that's
it's
so
the
funny.
ladybug.
Oh,
And
that's
so
great.
It was almost just meant to be, it was again one of those fate things. And that event happened because the block that it happens on, there was basically the business that owns all the properties that are being both leased for the retail purposes and the people that live above it, was like, yeah, there's some cool things happening, but here we are, we're coming up on like 10 years of the renovation of this property. Let's throw a party. Let's throw a block party. And so we had just met him. He came to us and was like, let me give you a small budget and you guys throw a block party for me, like inside some of the businesses and this kind of thing. And it was like right as we had come up with the idea of doing a Ladybug Festival. And we were like, okay, A, B, and here we go. So we went into this with a budget of all things. Like normally we go into it, we don't have a budget. Like we're like trying to figure out how in God's name we're going to make any money. And so it's like we can actually pay people to do this and make it free and just make it a really cool thing. And yeah, I think the response was like 600 people the first year that came out. And
I know last year you did. It was like 15. No, not 15. It was like
3,000.
3,000.
Yeah,
and
that was probably a low estimate.
No, I was about to say every time I read that estimate, it was then like amended with like, and we're pretty sure that's a very conservative estimate right there. But even 3,000.
We think it's
anything
just
in
about,
the city of Wilmington like is
on a Thursday.
Thursday evening in July when everyone is hoofing it out to the shore, hoofing it out to the beach.
That's really the big, the stark difference. And we've asked the businesses, one Extreme Pizza, we asked last year, like, what was this like for you versus like, let's say like a strong Friday night. Yeah. And it was ridiculous. You know, if they had done 300 in sales on a strong Friday night, it was like 3,000 and they ran out of food early on. So they could have done way more. So, we're on one of the what would have been one of the slowest nights of the year. You're seeing a business do 10 times of what they would normally do on the best night that they can do it. So that was exciting. That was really cool to hear that.
And aside from all that of just the boom to the businesses, which is awesome, and it's great. And it's great to endear yourself to the city as a whole, to be like, look, we're not just a bunch of like we're not just a bunch of people just trying to put on rock shows. Like we're trying to build community.
The city responded well last year. They actually helped us. There's a lot of things that are just inherent with doing things in Wilmington that make it, unfortunately, bureaucratically kind of tough.
Well, I mean that's the case everywhere.
And stuff like that. But through sponsorship this year, they made it a lot easier for us to kind of pull it off. And
I think it's because you guys gritted through a couple of years of doing it, and then they looked at
and we were like, we're not going away. Like this is going to keep happening.
They're
it's
still
going to keep
doing
growing.
It. Maybe we should give them some money,
or at least maybe we should not charge them for that.
Maybe we should stop kneecapping them on their way through this.
But that's my favorite event. Honestly, I can say that's my favorite event all year because it's so much fun for us to have this thing going on and to see really just a ton of natural excitement. And then we get to walk around for like the week leading up to it and, go to the farmers markets and go to people with flyers and be like, check this out. It's free. We want you to come. Yeah. Whether it be homeless people, it doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, hey, it's a $20 ticket. Can you afford it? It's just like, this is free. This is great. Just come check it out. And I know my goal for next year, my personal goal is I want every single genre of music to be represented. Every single genre.
You guys put together like great bills of like people from the area and people kind of regional area, and you brought in some national acts last year too.
Yeah, we definitely tried, and it's cool because the one of our headliners, Mary Arden Collins, is somebody that hadn't played in Wilmington for a while. She moved out to L.A. and had a great following before she left. And when she left, she was one of like the only female artist that was gigging regularly and doing this. And so, we had the chance to interview her for like a little promo piece. And we had, she was asked even by the News Journal leading into it, the local paper, like, what is this like for you to be able to come back to an all female festival, and she was just like, I could never have dreamed that something like this would be happening.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to be able to be able to have that. And then of course, since she doesn't play around a lot, I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that came out just to see her play. And someone like an Angela Sheik, who has played every single year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she's been like our headliner almost every year, and she just never. I mean, she always does something really different, and she really strategically chooses when and where to play in Wilmington, and she doesn't play frequently. I mean, she'll play 3 or 4 shows a year. We're really honored that one of them is always Ladybug. And then Naja Nicole, who had played every single year up to this one because she was in LA filming for The Voice.
That's right.
But she was still here. She actually still came to the event. She happened to be in town for that day. She couldn't perform, but she still came out and supported, which says a lot, a tremendous amount.
No, I that's probably one of my favorite events I've seen anyone come up with in years.
It is its own monster. And we have huge plans for that event. I mean, I try not to talk too much about it because they are very long-term plans. Again, they may take 10 years to come to fruition, but you know, we're just figuring out how do we grow it little by little so that we're not like, you know, gonna totally, you know, way overpromise and underdeliver. We want to surprise people every year that are coming out, and more importantly, we're trying. Our goal is to retain 100%. You know, if you came out, we want you back next year, and we want you to bring 3 or 4 people. And I think we've done pretty well with that because the attendance has gone from like 600 estimated to 1,200 estimated to 3,000. So I mean, it's growing pretty fast. It's been pretty cool. So,
have you guys thought of starting to get into more of the national booking game, or are you pretty satisfied with just with the way?
You know, it's so funny. Every time that, you know, every year, especially with Ladybug, as Ladybug comes around, we'll kind of put that question out, like, hey, what is everybody, our Ladybug fans, what do you all kind of feel about this? Like, if we were to have a big headliner at the end, what do you feel? Like a big name, you know? And most of the time, the people that are following the event are kind of like, no, don't do it. They like the fact that it is all about locals. They like that. And I mean, of course, if we were to book a Sheryl Crow or if we were to book a big act and have them as a headliner, of course, all of the artists would be like, holy crap. And we love that idea of that excitement, but it is definitely a big thought for us. Like, is this going to totally change the vibe of this event? Because that's like the magic piece of that event is the vibe. It's something that it's really hard to manipulate and control. It's either there or it's not. And we would hate to see this great event that's happening, but ultimately have other artists feel like people were there, but they were just there because they were going to be going.
And you don't want to
the
freak out the other artists too. Either.
I also personally really dislike working with agents when it comes to national artists. You know, I think a lot of that has to do with the situations that I'm booking. You know, if I had, you know, a room on a rotating schedule, like, you know, actually booking the downstairs at the Queen, I think it would probably be different, but I'm frequently trying to do it for a specific date. And it can be very, very, very soulless. Does that make sense?
No, I definitely, I've never had it. I mean, we've never had an agent booking for us, but I've worked booking with other people trying to get even acts that you think like, well, that can't be that hard. I met them at the place and they were cool. Right. But then like when you realize when you're not talking to the band anymore, like that, none of that shit means anything.
Exactly.
You're just like, I'm talking to a person whose whole point is to get this band the most money in the world so that they can get their 10% cut. Right. Which reminds me of the quote from Steve Albini. In any circumstances, anyone who gets a percentage rather than being paid a fee is overpaid.
There you go.
And I know that's a very simplistic way to think about it at some point, and there's whole aspects of the music industry and other industries that are built on commission. But
absolutely, and I think that when you're talking about incentive, a lot of the times that's something that, you know, it's a tool that we utilize a lot. You know, something like you know, Smyrna Opera House, for example. We see that, you know, when an artist is given a flat fee, especially at the level that we're working, we don't exactly see a big push versus like, hey, you're going to get this percentage of ticket sales. All of a sudden, it'll be like 80 more people than would have been there, come out. And so, but again, that's when you're working with the artist and you're working with the people that are going to benefit from that percentage, unlike the agents, like you said, they're just like, I'm going to jack this price up. I don't care what your situation is.
I'll go as high as I can.
You can give me 1 million stories. It doesn't matter. This is exactly what I'm here to do. And it does get very frustrating. And like I said, it's just kind of a soulless aspect of the business. And especially, you know, I didn't get into the business to necessarily work with stars. That's not why I wanted to do this. I got into the business to kind of my inspiration was I wanted to see a music scene that was strong and thriving in Wilmington. And so I love that there are entities like like Steve Bailey, who does all the booking at the Grand Opera House, and Chris LeBuz, who does an incredible job booking the national acts at the Queen. Both of them are super talented at what they do, wonderful what they do. I was talking to Steve last night, and he was talking to me about it was a few years to get the act that was playing that evening. And so again, just somebody that he had just had been literally working with an agent for this one act for 3 years. That I have so much respect for that. Yeah. And
that's a long game there.
A long game, and it was an incredible show. Yeah. And so I think that I'd rather be working in tandem, with those entities. It's not my strong point. It's not my passion. Is it fun? Is it kind of cool to get that chance to actually then interact with these people? Of course, absolutely. But my inspiration personally is I'd rather see the people that, we're putting all of our effort behind get to that level. Yeah. That's what I want.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. And as I've gotten older, and even when I was in a band, I was kind of becoming less and less enamored of the idea of fame or working with famous people, or even championing like a big act, like a big national act. Yep. So I got to a point where I was just like, well, if I want to sit and talk to someone about music, I would much rather talk to them about my friends.
Sure.
Or my friends of friends who are maybe just kicked up, maybe just a slightly higher level than I am, than to talk about U2.
Right.
Because I thought about this sometimes. I was like, in terms of if we were to, sort of mete out the amount of breath it takes to talk about U2 versus the amount of breath it takes to talk about my friend's band. I'm like, I'd much rather spend the breath on my friend's band.
I like that. That should be a Facebook meme.
U2 don't need me talking about them. Huge bands like that.
Anytime you see the thing going around, it's just people will literally spend $500 to sit a mile away from this act.
Yeah. People pay hundreds of dollars for Springsteen.
And
I love Springsteen, but I don't know if it's worth $300 to
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of those people will not spend $5 to go and discover something.
Well, those are people who pay $300 to see a Springsteen or a Sting or something like that. Yeah. Is that that is the one show, or Tom Petty or something like that. That's the one show they're going to go to that year. So they go all out. It's if you take one vacation
or
a
the festival
year.
Circuit. Yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. People that go to Firefly end up usually spending a couple grand between camping and everything that goes into it. And you're right. You can't do that with a bunch of festivals. You can't choose. Oh, I'm either going to this one, or this one. And you're right. I think that we have been connected, fortunately, with some tremendous supporters that we see almost every single show, whether it's the free Wednesday thing that we're doing at the Queen, which I'll plug later in a minute, or our songwriter showcase. People that have literally been to 30-something songwriter showcases in a row. They keep us going, and we ask them, we're like, we so value your support. But for them, it's less about that. It's more about we keep on finding this incredible, cool stuff.
Yeah.
And, stuff that we're not going to hear anywhere else because, radio's not supporting these people. And, you guys are the ones that are finding them and putting them in front of us.
You guys have a great relationship with the Hometown Heroes thing.
Mark is amazing.
Oh, man. Mark is
he's one of the most amazing human beings
I keep trying to get Mark in the chair.
I've ever come across.
Yeah. Because he
spends a lot of time in front of a microphone.
Yeah, but not from the other side though. That's the thing. Yeah. No. He's an interesting cat. I've always, because I don't know. I know almost nothing about him.
He's an incredible guy.
Yeah, and he to me is single-handedly not single-handedly, but he is one of the props, kind of propping up your scene right there.
Oh, yeah. No, he goes hand in hand with us.
But he would never admit that. Nope. He'd be like, "No, I'm just a guy doing a thing."
Yep.
He doesn't even he doesn't even work for the station anymore. Nope. But he still does.
10 years he's been doing this.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, I was on. It was great for us to go on there. I hadn't done radio like that since other points in my life, and it was amazing to sit down in that place. And
we brought a bunch of the bands in for Wilma Rock Circus. Leading up, and one of the bands we got to do that with was Subterraneans, and these are kids that are 15, 16 years old, and they're like,
there are mics and we're on the radio.
It was so, the energy and the excitement was got me. It reset me for another year of this business. Just that one experience right there.
Yeah. Well, radio is becoming less and less of of a thing, obviously, because and there's online radio, and so you guys got like the iRadio Philly guys and the Gas House guys, who I know probably push a lot of the bands that you guys have.
Absolutely.
And
we love anybody that does.
And you got podcasts and stuff like that, but there is something magic about just like being on the radio. I was thinking, the hometown radio station for me back in Rochester was just doing a fundraiser right before Thanksgiving, and I said to someone, I said, you have to understand, I'm like, this is the radio station, aside from all the music they played that turned me on to Primus, the Ramones, Nine Inch Nails, blah blah blah. I said, this is the first radio station ever that played anything that I did, like my crappy high school band, me and James, our crappy high school band demo. They played it.
That's awesome.
And I was just like, I'm like, you never, I'm like whether other people have played you since then, and whether if you gotten massive success after that or not, you never forget the first radio station that
definitely not
played, and everyone, it's like the world stops, and
absolutely.
and we would get phone calls from our friends, oh my God, they're playing on the radio.
Yeah.
The best story I have from that is
it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, the best story I have is my old friend Kate, who I'd grown up with. She was in the car with her father, and we came on the radio, and she just yells, Dad, Dan and James are on the radio. And her father's first response is, what the hell are Dan and James doing on the radio? Which we thought is the greatest. Yes. We're like, that is the correct response.
That is the correct response.
Yes. What did they do? Did they trick somebody? Because at the time, too, being on the radio was huge. You didn't get to be on the radio.
Right. At that time, you're right.
Nirvana got to be on the radio, not you.
Yeah, no. And it's... musicians have it very, very tough breaking into things right now.
I still think you can digitally put yourself everywhere, and that's great. You can go on Spotify, you can go on iTunes, you can go on
it doesn't mean
anything.
Anyone's gonna listen.
But there's something for someone else to pick you out of the ether and play you.
It's an overflow. It's an overflow of the market, and that the best. I still think the absolute best way you want to make fans, you get out and you play in front of people, and you talk and you win them over, and you talk to them after the show, and you talk to them, and you just do it little by little. The most successful artists that we've been working with, that is what they've done. Period. It's just they've got all of this stuff out, and they've been releasing it, and they've been hiring publicists to try and get it out there and do stuff, but the fan base that they have, the people that are actually buying their stuff, and the people that are actually wanting to see them, are the ones that they have met out at a show after a live performance.
No, it's always true. It's all about getting people in the door.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I think that's a good place to leave it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
This was great.
This was
fun.
Thanks for coming, for making the drive.
Can I plug Wilma Wednesday real quick?
Yeah, Wilma Wednesday. Yeah.
So, Wilma Wednesdays. I really actually want people to come check it out. It's kind of like a little mini networking event every week at World Cafe Live. It's
This is the World Cafe Live at the Queen, in Wilmington.
Yeah, so first off, free parking. Okay. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It's free parking anytime after 6 o'clock. Show doesn't start till 7. So you can always come. You can usually find parking on the block, usually right out front. If you can't, the lot is $5 for God's sake. So that really simple to get to, right off 95. And we're not just, it's not, we did take over the open mic. That's essentially what happened. This is now the new open mic at World Cafe Live. So I curate it, though. There is no signups.
Interesting.
I find people. There's usually 7 or 8 acts that play every week.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I try and put as many genres together as possible, which is really fun. That's totally the opposite of how we do most shows usually.
Yeah.
But it's really been a lot of fun to see a punk band go right after bluegrass band.
Oh, that's
followed
great.
By a hip hop act.
Well, that's great.
Seeing everybody that are getting.
That's great that you curate that. I didn't know that that's how that happened. I thought it was. I don't know what I thought it was, but that's. Because that's, speaking of, the digital world and everything just being out there, the idea of curation just seems to go by the wayside most of the time.
It's definitely my passion. I love it. And it's an opportunity for me to do every week. And so usually have 7 or 8 spots available. It is filling up fast. But if there are musicians that are listening, it's a 20-minute spot, 20 minutes on stage at the Queen.
That's a mini set right there. It's not
a
even
mini set.
So it's worth your time.
Worth the time.
And it's worth your time to go check out bands. You're not just going to see a band play 2 songs.
Go on Facebook and search for the Wilma Wednesdays group. I just created it because I've been doing everything through the Gable page for a while. But I promote this stuff. I don't just say, okay, here's your time slot, show up. I put Facebook events together. I put graphics together. I treat it like a mini show. Every week is a mini show. We've got a great MC, Melissa Bernard, who's a comedian who kind of gets up and vamps between sets as people are setting up and keeps the crowd around. It's a really cool experience. We usually have 3 or 4 photographers that are at every week. So not only can you come and play on stage, but you can leave with great you can have that evidence. Like if someone's just starting a band and is looking for like, how do we get content?
Oh, that's key, is to have a good live shot.
And I want bands that are just starting. Like I need to hear something. But this is the number one way that I'm booking for paid shows right now in Wilmington. So that's the other thing. Is a lot of people are like, hey, how do I come and do the Songwriter Showcase or Rock Circus or Ladybug? Come and show us what you got.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see what you do in front of a live crowd. And now that we've got that platform, that's the main way we're going about booking. So I really, really encourage people to come out. We also do reach out to press. We do reach out. Mark Rogers is there frequently.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's just, you're going to make great connections. A lot of times the Crystal Buzz will come out to these things. She's the actual booking agent. So if you're looking for a foot in the door at that venue, this is a good way to go. I mean, and Gail and I, we put this, so we are there.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of the other stuff that we're able to do, we have put Wednesday evenings aside that we are absolutely in the building there enjoying from start to finish.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to give that a plug. I hope
Wilmo Wednesdays, World Cafe Live the Queen, which World Cafe Live in Philadelphia is a gorgeous, amazing venue.
Oh yeah, you got to check out one.
The downstairs World Cafe Live at the Queen makes every venue I've ever seen look like dirt. That is completely hyperbole right there, but like the first time I went down there and saw that big backdrop on the back wall, I was like, holy crap.
It's my favorite thing to do.
And upstairs is phenomenal too.
It's a beautiful room, and I love people that are from out of town. They don't know what they're coming into, and I can be like, have you seen downstairs yet? Hang on, I'm walking you down there, because I love especially when a show is going on and just seeing that like jaw dropping, like what? How did I not know about this kind of thing?
I think those people have made two of the finest venues I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen and played in venues all over this country.
I love the vision. Hal is the owner. He's a great guy, and I just hope more people will continue supporting him. So,
yeah, there's a great commitment to
tremendous
quality to a quality live music experience for the bands and for the artists, which you don't see in too many places.
Absolutely not.
And I find myself the clubs that I like in other places. I go back home to New York, or I'm in other parts of the country, and I'll sit down at a place and I'll look around and I'm like, it's got a bit of a World Cafe vibe, and immediately that means that I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. It's
and those places, kind of thing, and those places too, I feel like in a lot of ways cater to those of us who are getting a little older and don't want to stand in a basement club till 1 a.m. I like that you get a chair.
It's comfortable.
I like that you get a chair.
Exactly.
I like that someone can bring you beer.
I love that despite having these incredible spaces, they have embraced the local community. Like their work for us. I mean, we can send an email and be like, do you have a date downstairs available? And if it's available, they'll give it to us. It's not like, well, what are you bringing?
We don't know what you're gonna do. Well, because you've delivered for them a lot of the times, and that's
we really take that very, very seriously.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's not a relationship that you want to wear out or strain.
Nope, not at all.
So I imagine you don't go to them with anything that you're not already pretty damn sure about.
Pretty much, yeah. And so I'm really into this Wilmo Wednesday thing. I hope people will come check it, because we treat it like any other event we have. This is not like I got to go do this thing every. This is like, I want to see this place packed and thriving, and I honestly think that it can be a really good anchor for the local scene. So please try making the trips down sometime.
Well, I'm going to put that up, and
sweet,
it will be talked about.
Thank you, sir.
There we go. Thanks, Jeremy.
Awesome, man. This is fun.
We'll be together till the end of time. 25
Awesome. That's the show for this week. Thanks so much to Jeremy Hebbel from Gable Music Ventures for sitting down here on the show. GableMusicVentures.com. That's where you can go learn so much more about what Jeremy and Gail do down in Wilmington. They're phenomenal supporters. They're phenomenal scene makers. They're just all around great people. And I said it in the interview, and I'll say it again. For all out there who are looking to make music and to foster scenes in places that maybe may not seem like they're the places that of big scenes, you could really take a page from their book and really see the way that they do things. You can contact them through the website, GableMusicVentures.com. I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Great show. Great year. Great 2015. I'm into it. I hope you're all into it. I know sometimes people like to harken back at the end of the year on negative things. There's I'm sure negative crap happened to me this year too, but I'm really trying not to dwell on it. I'm trying to think about how this was a great year. It was a good year for me. It was a good year for the show, and I thank you all for being here, being part of it. We're going to go out on the track this week from Venice Sunlight. I had their frontman Jay Vertebello on the show back in episode 18, where we talked about his upcoming record, which is called Venice Sunlight versus the Swingers and the Saints. And it's done. It's getting ready to come out in early 2016. It was produced by Joe Reinhardt, who I had back on episode 20. So I just seem to be indebted to play a track from this song. Anyway, they have a new single out called Soul of the City. You can get that at music.venicesunlight.com. I believe it's a free download. Yeah, I think it's a free download. Tell Jay I said it was a free download. It's cool. If there is money involved, it's a pay what you will. I highly recommend you kicking those guys a couple of bucks. Or maybe pre-ordering the album. Just go to music.venicesunlight.com. It's going to tell you everything you need to do. I apparently can't tell you those things. They're playing January 16th at Boot and Saddle in Philadelphia. And sharing the stage with them that night will be Nicholas Hughes and John Fay. So, Venice Sunlight. Anyway, here's their track called Soul of the City on 25 o'clock. My name is Dan Drago. Take care of yourselves in 2015. I'll catch you in 2016.